I could say,
which general plan are you talking about? The 1981 one or the one that we haven't adopted yet?
it's the 2004 housing element. And my memory of the language from the board is that they wanted us to come back with an incentive-based ordinance, and we feel we have done that.
Which is voluntary. Incentive-based is voluntary.
Well, we think we have a non-voluntary incentive-based ordinance, but we did investigate the voluntary aspect, and the conclusion was that that's not possible. So what we've crafted is incentive-based, and it has a threshold at 10 units, and it seemed to be as flexible as we could make it. I mean, I guess if you say the definition of compromise is that everybody's unhappy, then we have succeeded.
Supervisor Delbar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Pinchas is absolutely correct. It was, don't come back with a fee-based approach, an incentive-based approach. And my reaction was the same. I looked at this and I thought, okay, what part did that not click? Because for the reasons that I stated earlier and stated before, it makes no sense to add on the price of a house to try to make it more affordable. That's just counter logic. It's our housing element. It's not state law. I've heard that a couple of times. It's a state law. It's not state law. It's our requirement, and it's our housing element. We can change it, and it's due for an update. It's a 5-year housing element. It has to change every 5 years, and that's due for an update. So we can change that. I argued against the language when we put it in there the first time. Obviously, I wasn't successful. But I don't think that we have to go this route. If you deleted section 20.238.015, you might be a long way to get there.
Okay.
It's page 5. It starts on page 5. But it's counterintuitive to add on the price of to the price of a house, try to make it more affordable. That doesn't work for me. And the incentives here to get somebody through the process, and in exchange we'll give them more units, makes sense. And our process has to be changed, not the cost of the housing. And if we can help by creating infrastructure, I know that wasn't put in this because of the unknown costs, and I understand that. But the policies that we make as a board in terms of providing that infrastructure go a long way to make it more affordable. And one of the reasons why we don't see the bigger developments is every time someone pops their head up with an idea, there are aspects of this community that shoot it down. And they're gun shy, and I don't blame them. They get the heck kicked out of them every time they say, well, here's an idea, I want to develop something. Oh my God, the word develop. And it brings folks out of the woodwork to kill it. So again, it comes down to the policy decisions that the board makes. And if we really want to create the affordable housing, then let's make it easy to do so and provide the incentives, but not add to the cost of it.
Supervisor Colfax.
From the time we discussed this back some years ago when we were working on the housing element, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of water under a bridge, whatever it may be. And whatever one's perspective on this, I think it is absolutely pointless. I'll just reiterate. I think it's absolutely pointless to argue about an ordinance that doesn't have any teeth, will not be very productive, if productive at all. And if we're arguing over the symbolic aspect of it, that's one thing. Then let's go in the other room and scream at each other. But this document really is not going to drive prices up. It's not going to provide adequate housing. It's a real disappointment, but it's a disappointment in the sense that all this effort has come up with a document that is neither effective nor efficient. And that's not the fault of staff. It's the fault of the economy, the circumstance of housing, building and production and so forth. Let's stop going around. Let's accept it and be done with it. And I'll bet you nobody will discover that their price is their housing pool increases, that their cost of housing increases or is lowered. It is simply a symbol of something, and you can use it as a Rorschach test to decide whether we are being serious or absolutely irresponsible with regard to housing. We've got to find other alternatives. We've got to find mechanisms that really work. And I would suggest we go back and start looking at building code revisions, procedural revisions, funding mechanisms that are out there and can be implemented, so forth. But this thing here is not worth arguing over. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. And thank you very much for the huge amount of work that's gone into it. But sometimes you spend a lot of time on a project, as any scientist can tell you, and you don't get the results you hope for. I wish this thing were effective and there were agreement on it and we get some affordable housing that people can truly afford in Mendocino County. This, you know, nice effort, but let's be done with it and not spend a lot of time on it.
Okay.
Chair, would it be helpful if I kind of recapped what, depending on the direction we got, what we would bring back on December 9th?
Sure, if you would provide for direction from the board to proceed with one way or the other, you bet.
Okay. If you were to direct us to proceed in bringing back the ordinance for introduction and waive reading on December 9th, we would make, there were a number of modifications that made sense, adding comparable in a particular section, et cetera, and we would make